Good morning and welcome to the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors meeting for March 26, 2024. We will be going into closed session. Madam Clerk, will you read us the items?
Report out from closed session from the March 12th is item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, conference with legal counsel, re-anticipated litigation, one case, significant exposure to litigation, board action, no reportable action taken. Closed session for today, March 26th, item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54957B1, Public Employee Annual Performance Evaluation, title, County Executive Officer. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, conference with legal counsel, re-anticipated litigation, one case, significant exposure to litigation. Item 3, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, conference with legal counsel, re-anticipated litigation, one case, significant exposure to litigation. Item 4, pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, conference with county designated labor negotiators Teresa Hitchcock, Marcos Munoz, and Judy Hawkins regarding the following employee organizations: Services Employees International Union Local 1021, Sheriff's Management Unit, Calaveras County Public Safety Employees Association, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Calaveras Management Union, Calaveras Supervisors Union, unrepresented employees.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on any of these items? Seeing none, we will probably be continuing this item after our regular agenda, so we will report out probably at the next meeting. So at this time, we're recessed to closed session until 9 o'clock. Good morning. If I could have your attention. Good morning. Welcome to the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors meeting for March 26, 2024. If you are able, can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Fallbrook, you lead us this morning. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see a big crowd here today. A lot of things to go over. The board would like to acknowledge former Supervisor Callaway, who's joining us today. Many years right there. We will begin with staff announcements. Lisa?
Good morning, Board Chair, respective honorable board members. Lisa Medina, Environmental Management Agency. I have two announcements, and we're going to be real busy a couple Saturdays from now. On Saturday, April 13th, we have our second rabies and microchip clinic here at the Government Center. Dr. Alyssa Burnett will be the attending veterinarian. Also on that same day, we have our Calaveras Airport Day. For the first time, we will also have some of our dogs and maybe a cat or two. I'm not too sure how the cats will fare with the airport. But we are going to be hosting a foster event at the, I said that before, an adoption event at the airport. So we're real excited that's going to be going through. Also with us will be Focus. They will also have a booth at the airport. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody out there. Currently, we have 28 dogs in our shelter. So we're looking to get some of them home to their forever homes. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Other staff announcements? Anybody online?
There are none online.
All right, we'll move on to recognition and acknowledgements. We'll start with number 5. Madam Clerk.
Item 5, proclamation. Administrative Office approve a proclamation designating March 2024 as Women's History Month in Calaveras County.
You have the gavel?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Whereas the American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas the American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of volunteer labor force of the nation. American women have particular importance in the establishment of early charitable and cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every progressive social change movement. American women have served our country in the military. American women have been leaders not only in securing the rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolishment movement and emancipation movement, industrial labor movement, civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, with creating more fair and just society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of the American woman in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in literature, teaching, and study of the American history. And at this time, I will open it up for public comment. Seeing none in the room, are there any online?
There are none online.
Okay. Bring it back. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll move this item.
Moved by Supervisor Toffenelli, second by Chairman Garamendi. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, therefore be it proclaimed that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors recognizes March 2024 as Women's History Month in Calaveras County as a way to celebrate the many contributions of women in our community. It's been passed today, the 26th of March. Thank you.
very much. Move on to item 6, Madam Clerk.
Item 6, proclamation, administrative office, adopt a proclamation honoring Judith Marvin for her distinguished service in documenting and preserving the history of Calaveras County.
Supervisor Hubbard, you have the gavel.
Thank you. Judy, can you hear me?
Yes, I only have one hearing aid working.
Well, today is not about the historic ordinance, the historic building ordinance. It's about a proclamation for you. So, Judith Marvin is a historian and architectural historian residing in Murphy's, Calaveras County for nearly 50 years, earning her BA in history in 1962. Whereas Ms. Marvin was a curator of the Calaveras County Museum and Archives for 4 years and its director for 7. And while in that capacity she conducted several historic building surveys for the Calaveras County Planning Department as well as for the State Office of Historic Preservation, and received and administered several historic preservation grants. And whereas Ms. Marvin has inventoried historic resources in San Andreas, McCullamy Hill, Copperopolis, Angels Camp, and Murphy's, and whereas Ms. Marvin has conducted extensive research on several mining districts in California and Nevada, including a contextual history of the Eureka Mining District in eastern Nevada. Major projects in California Motherlode include a cultural resources survey, evaluations of significance, and a popular publication on the history of the Carson Hill mine near Angels Camp. And whereas Ms. Marvin has authored contextual histories and historic evaluations for a wide range of projects in the Sierra Nevada, including numerous cabins, roads, trails, mines, ditches, and canals, water and power resources, and ranching and agricultural sites. She conducted studies of the California Department of Parks and Recreation on historic cow camp cabin in Calaveras Big Tree State Park and the Mohawk Mill at Plumas Eureka State Park. And whereas Ms. Marvin has been instrumental in identifying and preserving many of Calaveras County's historic assets for current and future generations, and has authored and co-authored numerous historic publications based on her research. And with that, I'll give it to the public for public comment. Any comment online?
There are no online public comments.
I'll bring it back to the board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Therefore, be it resolved that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors, in honors of Women's History Month, recognizes Judith Marvin's many contributions as well as her dedication to the identification and preservation of historic assets in Calaveras County. Judith Marvin, it makes me immensely proud to bestow this honor on you on behalf of Calaveras County.
Ankle surgery, that's why she's in the cast. Yeah, it does. It's right there. 2 more weeks and she can walk.
Hold that pose one second.
Thanks, Lance. No, it's not. Now he wants a personal one, right?
It's not often I get to stall a public meeting, so.
Thank you very much, Martin. My earliest memories is Judy running around through Calaveras County with my grandfather doing historical work. It's wonderful to do this. We'll move on to item number 7. Madam Clerk.
Item 7, proclamation, administrative office, adopt a proclamation recognizing former District 3 Supervisor Marita Callaway as the 2024 Woman of the Year for Senate District 4, and adopt a proclamation recognizing Melissa Eads for being the Senate District 4 honoree for women, or 2024's Women Making Her Story for Calaveras County.
Okay, we have 2 proclamations. We'll start off with Supervisor Toffenelli. You have the gavel.
I left the room for a minute, and when I came back, this was on my desk here. I sat on this board with Marita for a long time. So I am going to do something that Marita always did when she read a proclamation. So Marita, come on up. I'm going to come down there.
This is why you don't pass the gavel. Gary, you need this for Gary, you need this for self-protection.
I might. Marita. So, this is the way you always did it, remember? All those years. And now it's your turn to be on the other side. So, this is a proclamation recognizing former District 3 Supervisor Marita
Wait, what's this former stuff?
Callaway.
Sounds like
Well, you have to talk
I'm
to
going to
Mark.
have to come
If you
sit
want,
here.
if you want to change places with Mark.
No.
It's mine.
As the 2024 Women of the Year for Senate District 4. Whereas Marita Callaway, the longtime Calaveras County District 3 Supervisor, was recently recognized in Sacramento as the 2024 Woman of the Year for the State Senate District 4, which covers Nevada, Placer, El Dorado, Amador, Alpine, Mono, Inyo, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Stanislaus, Mariposa, Merced, and Madera counties. Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that, huh?
Hey.
Did you even know what Senate district you were in?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so proud of you, Toffenelli.
Did you? No.
I didn't even know what district I was in when I ran, so go ahead.
Whereas Marita has distinguished herself over many years with her unwavering dedication to public service and was the longest-serving female county supervisor in the state of California. And whereas Marita has continuously shown exceptional leadership, what? Who wrote this?
Tom Tryon, go ahead.
Through her efforts to improve our community, and whereas Marita has championed many projects in furtherance of this goal, reliably promoting local businesses, advocating for animals, and bringing more visitors and jobs while never losing sight of the unique character of Calaveras County.
Are we having an animal shelter? Are we going
I
to
got to
have
finish this first, then we can go on to the animal
Okay.
shelter.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, at this time, is there any public comments?
No.
Al, come on up.
Toffenelli.
Come here. You don't get to say no.
Al Sagano, Taxpayer Association.
NRA,
NRA. It's the only,
is that the national?
I remember, it's only 30 years or so ago, that Tom Tryon and I tried to convert you to be a libertarian. We didn't succeed then, and but one thing I did notice in all the time I've been here watching you is the amount of character you have and caring for others, and I won't forget that.
Thank you. Okay. And we're going to put your name on that. They're going to put your name on that.
Hi, Marita. Fine. Haven't seen you in a while. I think it would be appropriate if you could mention
something you're doing recently about Ukraine, helping to procure medical apparatuses. Your work never stops. Thank you.
Okay, end the conversation, wrap this up.
Hold on. We all have something to say. Dana, do you have anything you want to say?
No, he already did.
He already did, but, hey.
I work for the Senate, and I have a hard time keeping up with the numbers. Keep changing, but
All right, is there any other
real
public
quick,
comment?
I've worked with probably
Yeah.
I will, Dana Jorgensen, Senator Alvarado Gale. I've probably worked with 100 supervisors over the years, and sometimes someone retires, and they really retire. They even retire from the state. That's something that Marita has not done, and she's still serving, and I appreciate what she's doing now, too. She's a servant to the very end, so, yep. And my grandmother was Marita, so I've always had a special bond with you, so,
I'll take it.
okay.
I got to bring it back to the board. Is there any board comments on this item?
I do.
No, this one you gave me.
Oh,
Almost 2 years ago.
yeah, the Ukraine pin, and, you know, the part of your service there. Thank you, Bonnie, for bringing it up. Thank you, Dana, for honoring her with a center at the state. And, you know, my also very proud of you for your continued service to the world, not just the community. Thank you. And, you know, love you, Marita, and I still got your $2.
I want to thank you as well, Marita, and congratulate you on the honor bestowed by the senator, and on behalf of this and this board as well. You have shown an example of community service, of service to the people of this world. It is who you are, and your core is you are a servant, and you help people, and you help your community become stronger. And sitting next to you for those years was wonderful. Martin doesn't elbow me nearly as much as you used to, but you're missed, and thank you for just continuing to set the example in our community.
Yes, and Jack told me, don't grab my leg like Marita did.
Yes.
Marita, you are an inspiration. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing me here. Martin. Supervisor, really just great.
Thank you, Marita. Got your matching earrings.
Yes. Do you want to tell the story?
So when was it, last year? You saw some, yeah, Mackenzie Middleton won Calaveras, the state rodeo. Marita saw these earrings and sent me a text message. I think, were you in Mexico or were you already in Europe? She was somewhere in the world traveling. Amanda, we need these earrings. So we spent, the next 2 to 3 months designing the earrings and figuring out how to get these duplicates, because they only make them specifically for the rodeo queens. So we convinced the company to make some just for us, for Calaveras County. So she has one where the dot is in Murphy's for the district she represented, and I got mine where my dot is where District 4 represents. That was fun, designing the earrings with her halfway around the world.
And Marita, the only thing I have to say, Marita, is I still have scars on my legs and my arm from sitting next to you all those years. Just so what I have to say is, before you leave out of the county again, you and I and Tom still need to have lunch. Just us three.
You can pay since you're working.
And I'll tell Tom he has to pay. So
This is the other interpreter.
we needed two because we knew you were going to be here. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks the Senator and Martin for putting me in the position. And the recognition really goes to my constituents and county staff. They're the ones that got me 25.
Can you say it in the microphone, please?
This is all new for me.
Did you get that, Susan? Do I have to repeat it?
We need to turn the light off?
It's on.
3 minutes.
Got it. I want to thank Supervisor Huberty for nominating me for this award that the senator gave me, to you, my colleagues, to my constituents, and to county staff for moving me through 25 years of service. And it was my honor. Thank you very much. Could you please take the vote? So,
All right, I'm open for a motion.
yeah.
So moved.
I have a motion by Supervisor Stopper,
I'll second.
a second by Supervisor Huberty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Marita. We have another proclamation under item number 7. I will pass the gavel to Supervisor Fallendorf.
So we've got a dual proclamation for the next individual. And so I'm going to bring the senator's office up to the mic with myself, and we'll read off both of them together.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the next person that's being recognized is Melissa Eads, and the county nominated her on Women Making Her Story to the senator's office. So not only does the county going to recognize the proclamation, then Dana is going to read the proclamation from the senator's office. So here we go. Whereas Melissa Eads has been recognized by Senator Alvarado Gil as the Senate District 4 honoree of 2024 Women Making Her Story. Whereas Ms. Eads has distinguished herself over many years with her unwavering dedication to public service. Whereas Ms. Eads has shown exceptional leadership through her effort to improve our community. And whereas Ms. Eads has championed many projects to improve our community by bringing more visitors and promoting more businesses and jobs with smart growth that maintain the unique character of Calaveras County. Melissa, do you want to come up and stand? I've known Melissa since I was a little kid, and she used to be the cool kid on the block, riding a bike. And I have had the honor to then work. Usually people would say she worked for me, but I think I worked for her. Through not just the Council of Government, but also through the city and other organizations throughout Calaveras County. And it's been an honor to not just call her a colleague, but also a mentor and a friend. With that, I would like to bring it to the board for a motion.
Public comment?
Oh, yeah, sorry, public comment. I was going to wait till, I guess I was thinking of Dana for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Suzanne Cruz. I am from Sonora City Council. And I would like to say about Melissa that it's one thing to come into a community with a great smile and a charming attitude, but it's an entirely different thing to come in and understand the founding principles that this country was set upon, which are free markets, limited government, individual liberty, and personal responsibility. These cornerstone ideas is what makes our constitutional republic work, and Melissa keenly understands them, and this is the way that paves the way to economic prosperity. And we are truly lucky in Tuolumne County to get someone who understands economic wealth and growth building, but yet be personable as well. So I would like to say to Calaveras County, your loss is Tuolumne County's gain. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Segerstrom, and Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Sonora and fellow council member with Suzanne Cruz. And I could not agree with the County of Calaveras more in their recognition of Melissa Eads. She came to us in a time of crisis, and we have, in the past 3 years, her leadership has provided a path to stability, to a new esprit de corps within the city, the staff, and a really a very what's the word I'm looking for? Open path to prosperity for the future. So as to double up on Suzanne, yes, we are so glad to have her in Sonora. So thank you, Calaveras County.
I know this is
Alice again, Taxpayers Association again. I think that Melissa is one of the finest people I've met in a long time. Not only her, but her daughter. The two of them are just like, it's incredible. I know when I was an active real estate broker, I met them many years ago in the pursuit of property in the Diamond 20 ranches. And never forget, her former husband, I forget his name, so it couldn't be that important. Anyway, they became almost like the local leadership in Calaveras, and I'm so grateful to have known her and also her daughter. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Madison Eads. I'm Melissa's daughter. So, yes. I've known her for my entire life, as you can tell. She's honestly one of the biggest role models in my life, and watching her work over these years and how dedicated and hardworking she is has really driven me to be hardworking and proud of the work that I do myself. I just want to say that I'm sure Grammy D and Papa Larry are extremely proud of her, and I'm extremely proud of her and so grateful that she's my mom and has allowed me to have the opportunities that I've had. So, thank you, Mom.
Good morning, Supervisors. Morgan Gotche. I wanted to give a special thanks to Melissa and for you guys for recognizing her. What an incredible human being. I had the privilege of meeting her during the pandemic. Things were a little chaotic then, and her leadership role in Angels Camp was phenomenal. And I got to meet a true woman of resilience, and she was really inspiring to me, and I feel very lucky to call her a friend and see how fiercely she supports our business community, how fiercely she supports community development, and I look forward to seeing for decades to come the leadership role that she's going to take in our area. Thank you.
There are no online comments. Okay.
So with no further public comment, I'll move it over to the board for a motion.
I'll move this item.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors recognize and honors Melissa Eads for ongoing dedication to public service and her many accomplishments that have contributed to the quality of life in Calaveras County and resulted in her recognition from the Senate District 4. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dana, and he can do his part.
Okay. I guess I'm not supposed to touch that. Dana Jorgensen with Senator Alvarado Gill. I have a plaque here for Melissa. One of the things I just want to say real quick is when you start something, there's a lot of planning. I know you all know that in your position. And so when the public sees something, you might have been working on it for like sometimes 10 years even, or several years. I know one of the things that Melissa helped start that we're going to see is the park in Angels Camp. And she worked on that a lot behind the scenes. And we kind of strategized together on that. And that's going to be a wonderful park. And that's a destination park. I think that's something the state did not understand. I live in Jackson. My kids would come and use the auditorium at Bret Hart. We would go to that park and have lunch. There's people that come from the Bay Area, and I think they stop there. That is really a regional park. And so I think once the state understood that, then they got on the right track on that. But Melissa was behind a lot of that. And one of the other things is I have this job, and I'll talk to people in elected office, and then I will know them for years, and I'll never meet their spouse or their kids. And I got to meet her kids today, and you have really good kids, so I can tell. And that's one of the biggest compliments I can give anybody, especially having my job and all the things that I deal with. So good job there. Yeah. So anyway, from Senator Alvarado Gill, this is for Melissa in recognition of Senate District 4 honoree for this year, California women making her story. And she is joined in this honor alongside the countless extraordinary women who have shaped our state and country's collective past with dedication and perseverance, signed by Senator Alvarado Gill and dated this month. Very worthy honoree.
You want to do a photo? Sure.
Yeah. Love that.
Do you want to say anything?
We do?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I will just take a moment. I was hoping to keep it composed, but then my daughter spoke and it got me a little bit emotional. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Supervisor Follendorf, and my thanks to the Senator and you, Dana. This is truly humbling. I'm so grateful. And really, I owe it to all of your leadership, the community, and the team of people behind me that support me every day in my life. I always say that public service to me feels like this battle rhythm that consumes your soul. And once you've got that rhythm, it's really hard to let go. It becomes a passion, an identity, who you are. And Calaveras County is that drumbeat for me, all of you are. And Supervisor Follendorf, my colleague, Melissa Raggio, my drumbeat, my compass, and I wouldn't be here without all of them. So thank you for this honor. I'm grateful. I'm really proud that my kids are here today to see me get this honor. And thank you.
The M&M girl.
All right, I'm going to take the gavel back, and let's just acknowledge all the wonderful women in Calaveras County in Women's History Month, and the ones we just honored again. All right, we've got one more proclamation, and Madam Clerk.
Item 8, proclamation. Public Health Services adopt a proclamation declaring the week of April 1, 2024 through April 7, 2024 as Public Health Week, recognizing the fundamental role that Calaveras Health and Human Services Public Health Division plays in the well-being of our community.
Thank you. I'm going to give it 1 second while the crowd clears out. Might get Uncle Tim to push everybody out the door for us. All right, thank you. It's my privilege to read a proclamation declaring the week of April 1st, 2024 through April 7th, 2024 as Public Health Week in Calaveras County. Oscar, can you grab that door? All right. Head her out. Thank you, Wendy. All right, public health. You guys ready? Whereas public health is vital to the well-being and prosperity of our community, ensuring that all people who live in Calaveras have access to resources and services that promote health and prevent disease. And whereas Calaveras County Public Health Division works to safeguard the health and safety of our residents through education, prevention, and intervention efforts. And whereas Public Health Week, observed annually during the first full week of April, serves as an opportunity to recognize the contributions of public health professionals and to raise awareness about the importance of public health initiatives. And whereas the theme for Public Health Week 2024 is Protecting, Connecting, and Thriving, We Are All Public Health, emphasizes the collaborative efforts needed to protect the health of our community, foster connections that support well-being, and create conditions where everyone can thrive. And whereas Calaveras County Public Health is committed to promoting health equity, addressing social determinants of health, and fostering partnerships with community organizations, stakeholders, and residents to improve health outcomes for all. Any public comments on this item? Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Courtney Atnip, and I am a program manager with Calaveras County Public Health Department. I'm honored to be here representing public health departments, especially our very own Calaveras County Public Health Division. The national public health theme this year is Protecting, Connecting, and Thriving. We are all public health. Having grown up in this community, I feel that this theme embodies what all residents envision for now and the future of Calaveras County. And I also feel our public health team sitting here today is a physical representation of this statement. With their relentless work to empower, educate, and provide resources to our community members that they need and deserve to feel protected, connected, and thrive. Our department reaches community members in a multitude of ways by collaborating with multiple community partners to help achieve this goal of a thriving community. Whether it be working with students in schools, teaching lifelong health habits through CalFresh nutrition, education, and gardening, partnering with our newly integrated First Five team to promote healthy childhood development, empowering and connecting community members to support and resources. Working with elders in the community to encourage engagement, provide access to information, and know they are not alone to thrive and being a vital part of our community. Ensuring the health of future generations and to help mitigate childhood diseases by providing vaccines through our clinics and mobile units. Promoting oral hygiene and interactive education to residents, young and elderly. Distributing and providing education on life-saving Narcan to ensure peace of mind to community members and first responders. Supplying emergency preparedness and response resources and information to ensure prompt care is in our rural community when disaster strikes. Reaching community members where they are at with our mobile unit and outreach deep in our communities. Helping families acquire and have the peace of mind that their children are safe in vehicles, on bikes, and in the water with our child passenger safety program. Keeping tobacco education at the forefront of our young and elderly residents to have a clean and healthy environment for future generations. Alongside our units with boots on the ground, California Children's Services and our medical therapy unit provide parents and their loved ones with coordination of care to ensure children have equal access to medical interventions and services. All of these incredible services and more are available at our public health department. We have also had the great privilege to place a vending machine in our very own Health and Human Services agency to offer basic necessities to ensure equal access and promote healthy living, empowering our community with knowledge and resources. As you have heard, our small but mighty public health department lays the groundwork for our community to thrive, fully embracing this year's theme of protecting, connecting, and thriving, showing that we are all public health. As Mary Ann Williamson said, the wound is not my fault, but the healing is my responsibility. I want to thank you for giving me the time today and partnering and recognizing the work and dedication of our public health team. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other public comments? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Any comments, or is there a motion?
I'll move this item.
Thank you. It's moved by Supervisor Toffenelli, second.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Fallendorf. Now, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries 5-0. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors, County of Calaveras, State of California, does hereby declare April 1st, 2024 through April 7th, 2024 as Public Health Week in Calaveras County. Thank you.
I'm going to go on this one, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to take more. I so appreciate you. Hi. We're good.
Cheeseburger.
we'll go through public comment, then we'll take a pit stop for everybody.
Any items of Any items of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30 minutes allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard.
Thank you. Public comment, please come on down. Remember, it's 3 minutes, and if your item is on the agenda later on, I will stop you and we'll bring it, and you can speak again when that item comes up. So, Bonnie from Double Springs, lead us off.
Forgive me, I'm on a soapbox today. I saw a documentary a couple of weeks ago. It was historical, and history I hated, but I watched it. It was about Adolf Hitler. And I watched him be exposed as a real manipulator. He set himself up as a victim because his great empire of Germany no longer existed and he wanted to recreate it. So he took some steps to try and achieve that. He started limiting and controlling information that the people got. He chose to blame and demonize a certain group of people. He started eliminating opposition, and he started promoting violence. And he was successful for a period of time. And I equated it to what Vladimir Putin is doing in Ukraine. The very same things, the same steps he's taking. He's got a vision of Russia being great again, having all of those satellite nations being under Russian rule. He's limiting all the information the people are getting, lying to them. He's blaming this last attack on Ukraine when we know it was Hamas or ISIS or some of those people. Alexei Navalny was murdered last month. Coincidence, huh? He's claiming that the Ukrainians are Nazis and need to be eliminated. I see history repeating itself. I wish I would have studied it better. Today I have some interesting remembrances of life, and I'd like you to have some, and I'd like people here to take some if they'd like. And I'd like to say that at some point, if Putin isn't stopped in Ukraine, I'm afraid we might be fighting him in Modesto. Thank you for your time. For anyone. Thank you.
Other public comment? Actually, Chris, you want us to move that stuff off first?
Sure thing. Smells great. Thank you, Stacy.
Good morning, County Council Edwards. My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras2024election.com. I'm here this morning to emphasize for you and your colleagues specific details of the Public Records Act request that you received in writing from me on Monday, March 25th, 2024 at 10:05 a.m. via email. My Public Records Act request is as follows. This California Public Records Act request is for all records of all verbal and/or written communication exchanges, physical and digital, that fall within the prescribed and authorized maximum date range of Calaveras County's approved records retention schedule that occurred between former District 3 Supervisor Marita Callaway and current District 3 Supervisor Martin Huberty, who also serves as the 2024 Board of Supervisors Vice Chair and who also serves as the presumably compensated Executive Director of the Calaveras Visitors Bureau, incorporating former District 3 Supervisor Callaway's knowledge as of June 7, 2022, specific to the Calaveras Visitors Bureau California Nonprofit Corporation type, having been legally changed with the state of California 11 months earlier on July 12, 2021, from a California Public Benefit Nonprofit Corporation to a California Mutual Benefit Nonprofit Corporation. That concludes my Public Records Act request. Board Chair Garamendi. As you recall, against logic and fiscal prudence, on June 7, 2022, Marita pushed indignantly to allocate $350,000 to the CVB in the 2022-2023 budget, effectively deprioritizing law enforcement and fire safety needs. I'll now close with a direct question addressed to both former D3 Supervisor Marita Callaway and her current hand-picked successor, the current D3 Supervisor Martin Huberty. Did the two of you have any communication, written or verbal, on or prior to June 7, 2022, regarding the aforementioned topic of the conversion of the legal status of the Calaveras Visitors Bureau nonprofit corporation type from a California Public Benefit Nonprofit Corporation to a California Mutual Benefit Nonprofit Corporation? One last thing, Martin. I allege that the CVB's bylaws published and displayed on GoCalaveras.com, a public-facing website, deceive and fraudulently misrepresent the factual legal status of the Calaveras Visitors Bureau nonprofit corporation type to the public at large for nearly 3 years now since July 12, 2021, on your watch as the Executive Director of a business bureau operating largely on public funds, all the while having accepted over $1 million combined in Calaveras County and Angels Camp DOT funding. My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras2024election.com. Thank you.
Other public comments? Seeing none, we will close public comment. We're going to take a 5-minute break and come back at 10:05 and begin the regular agenda. Thank you. That might have been me. Okay, sorry. Back in session. We're moving on to consent. Stacy?
Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request the removal of an item from the consent agenda or for later discussion.
Thank you. Are there any members of the board that would like to pull any items off consent?
Items 20 and 21, sir.
All right. 20 and 21. Other items?
Number 11.
Number 11. Anybody else? Staff?
I'd like to pull item number 13 from consideration by the board at this time.
Okay. 13 is off the agenda.
13 is off the agenda altogether.
Are there members of the public that would like to have an item pulled from consent agenda in the room? Seeing none, is there any online?
There are no online requests.
Very well. Excluding 13, 20, and 21, is there a motion to approve the, excuse me, and 11. Sorry, Gary. Is there a motion to approve the remainder?
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Stopper.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Fallendorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. We'll start off with item number 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We should probably read the item. Go ahead.
Thank you.
It's yours.
Item 11, action item, Administrative Office. Step 1, establish behavioral health capital improvement project for new centralized building. And 2, approve related budget transfers. Requires a 4/5 affirmative vote of the Board of Supervisors.
Gary?
Thank you. I pulled this item because I have some concerns, and I just want to voice my concerns on this item. This item is a grant, and it's a $20 million grant. And this grant, we have to expend the revenues first and then get reimbursed. And we're using an opioid settlement fund as the draw on this. And right now, again, it's a $20 million grant, and in this account, the opioid settlement account, right now there's only $782,000 in there. I have some concerns about once we start construction and really start expending money. Are we going to be spending money faster than we're bringing it back in and getting reimbursed for? And so we're going to have to find other ways other than this account to fund the construction and fund this program. And normally, it wouldn't be such a big concern if the grant was only $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. This is $20 million, and we have another project that's going on right now that may go for another year or two that we are expending money also and not getting reimbursed. So my concerns, I just want to make sure we have a handle on this thing and we know where we're going with it, and that it's reported back to us on at least a quarterly basis, if not sooner, to keep us aware of what's going on so it doesn't come up and just bite us. And then we're looking at another situation where we're looking to fund a project and not stop it because we don't have the funds to expend while we're waiting to be reimbursed. And then these type of grants, you're audited and they review before they pay. So I just have some concerns about where this could head just because of the size of the $20 million of this grant. So those are my concerns. I don't know if the other board members have any other concerns on it. I just want to bring it forward.
I was unaware that it's a reimbursement grant. That's a cash flow major issue.
So Supervisor Toffenelli, through the chair, we certainly understand your concern. What we're going out for right now is the design process, and prior to putting out an RFP for the construction phase, we'll have a complete financial plan for how we're going to cash flow this project. Right now, we are only going out for the design phase of the building.
And I understand that, and we're just setting up the account now for it, but my concerns are not for that part of it.
Right.
Once we go into construction and that thing really gets moving, we could expend $2 million in a month. And then all those invoices come in and we've got to pay it out before we get back reimbursement. And I know it's a setup in a bank account and so forth, but at this time we don't know, because we haven't taken any money and spent it to get reimbursed on, how long it's going to take to get reimbursed. Is it going to take 30 days? Is it going to take 45 days? Is it going to take 60 days? That money's out there during that time. And then where are we going to get the other money during that time for the next month as that building starts going up? And are we going to have to find other ways to finance this thing while we're waiting and then we get audited? I just have concerns, and I want to voice those concerns, that we're brought up to date when something happens, or we start getting to a point where we're expending more funds and not getting it back, that we don't have it available for us.
And I agree with your concerns. Those are very valid concerns. And again, we will not proceed to the construction phase without your board's approval and without having a financial plan that your board agrees with, and a schedule for reporting back to the board on the progress of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Gary. Any public comment on this item?
Yeah, Allison Allen, Taxpayer Association. We concur with Gary's concerns. I think that what might be a good way to approach this is to look and see if we really need this facility or not. Perhaps that could be a public workshop or a public meeting, and we could solicit people that may have the opinion that that's not needed. As it looks now, we don't really know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment? Is there any public comment online?
There are no public comments online.
Anything else from the board? Then I will ask for a motion.
Seeing that the modulars that they work in, it's absolutely needed, so I'll make a motion to move forward with this.
Motion by Supervisor Stoppers, or second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Toffenali. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Thank you. Move on to item 20.
Item 20, Agreement, Public Works. Authorize the board chair to execute Amendment 11 to Agreement 1200-1806 with Dewberry Engineers, Inc., increasing the maximum amount payable by $224,579.14 for a total amount not to exceed $2,801,025.07 for the term of September 1, 2018 through December 31st, 2024.
Thank you. Supervisor Stoppers?
It's two separate votes, but these two items, 20 and 21, have to do with the same thing. Separating those, slow walking this and having concerns. My suggestion is, we proceed forward with the vote on number 20, and I would like to postpone the vote on number 21 once we get to that, till we get more information moving forward.
All right, so on item 20, other questions on item 20? All right, any public comment? Any online?
There are no online requests.
Very well, I'll bring item 20 back to the board for a vote. Is there a motion? Moved by Supervisor Fallendorf.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Toffenali. I'd like to call a roll call vote on this.
Roll call vote, District 1,
Aye.
District 2,
No.
District 3,
No.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
No?
Motion fails 2-3. Item number 21.
Item 21, Agreement, Public Works. Authorize the board chair to execute Amendment 9 to Agreement 1200-1805 with Doken Engineering, Inc., increasing the maximum payable amount by $237,614 for a total amount not to exceed $6,949,017 for the term of September 1, 2018 through December 31, 2025.
Supervisor Stopper? Same.
Yeah, I'm not changing my thing,
Okay.
postponing till.
So, go ahead. Supervisor Toffenali?
You would like to bring it back
With more information.
next meeting or 2 meetings? or-
The next meeting.
The next meeting, okay. I'd support that.
Is there other comments from the board? So we'll come back for that as a motion.
A motion
Counsel?
to continue to the next meeting, yeah.
We'll do that after public
Okay,
comment.
yep.
Ben can make that motion. Is there public comment on this item? Is there any public comment online?
No public comment.
Is there a motion? Supervisor Stopper?
So moved to
No, you want
continue.
to continue?
To continue the next meeting.
Motion is to continue to the next meeting, this item 21.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second by Supervisor Toffenali. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries 5-0. Thank you. That concludes consent items. Move on to regular agenda. Item 25.
Item 25, Agreement, Administrative Office. 1, find project exempt from CEQA. 2, authorize the board chair to execute an agreement with LDA Partners for the Phase 2 design and construction documents for the animal shelter and an amount not to exceed $798,000 with a term ending August 31, 2024. And 3, authorize the county executive officer to sign amendments to the agreement, if any, so long as they do not affect the amount, the not to exceed amount.
Thank you. Marcos?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Marcos Munoz, Assistant CAO. I am here today seeking approval to enter into a contract with LDA Partners for Phase 2 design and construction documents of the animal shelter in the amount of $798,000. To put that number in perspective, it is approximately 7.4% of the total estimated project costs, compared to the DA at 8.5% and the behavioral health building at 7%. In our latest RFP for the behavioral health building back in November, we received 10 responses averaging 7.4% with a high of 11.5%. Because of the systems in animal shelters, they do tend to have higher design costs. However, the 7.4% is right in line with the average of the bids received for the behavioral health building. I do also want to point out, we do have the consultant online, if there are any questions for him as well.
Questions from the board?
Yes, I do.
Martin?
I just want to make sure, thank you, Marcos. I just want to make sure that we have enough kennels and that there are enough large kennels in the design. Could you remind us how many large kennels are within this?
Correct. We did work with UC Davis to help come up with the number on the amount of kennels needed for our animal shelter. I'm going to actually pass it over to Eric to give us that specific number as he is online right now.
You're muted, sir.
Eric, you're muted. Can you please turn on your volume?
Sorry about that. So the kennels are actually divvied up into multiple sections. So we have more, because we want to compartmentalize the dog housing so that it doesn't affect or overstress the animals, and it doesn't create too much noise that would actually overstress the staff as well. So we have 3, I would call, main adoption areas. The first one has 7 kennels, and a standard kennel is typically 4 by 6. Remember, that's double-sided, so you have 2 sections of 4 by 6. The next kennel has, adoption kennel has 8. Again, those are also 4 by 6, and they typically have 1 extra large kennel in each ward. There's a smaller kennel ward with 2 dog suites. Those are individual dog suite areas, an area for small dogs, and those can be used with cages. So cages can typically be stacked on top of each other, depending upon the size of the cage. So we can have theoretically 4 large cages or 8 smaller cages. The actual number can can be modified a little bit as we get further into design and what the actual needs are more refined for the shelter. Then we have quarantine areas. So these are areas where the dog housing is actually separated out from the general public so that we can evaluate dogs before they become adoptable. In that area, there are 6 individual kennels there. Again, there's a larger one, larger than the standard 4x6. Those are pushing 6x6. And then we also have high-risk isolation kennels, and we have 2 of those, and then a low-risk kennel. Actually, excuse me, 1 high-risk kennel and then 2 low-risk kennels. So we have a kind of a variety of kennels and cages. So we have 7 to 10, 18. I'll give you the total number here. So we're looking at 30 kennels plus cages.
Answer your question?
It does answer my question. I thought we were actually looking at 40. If I remember correctly, that's what we had requested. I mean, right now we're at 28, but I know that maybe Lisa could help me here. How many dogs do we get in it?
Well, currently, as I stated,
Lisa, please come up.
So currently we are at full capacity. As I stated earlier, we have 28 dogs, and we do not get the small, cuddly Pomeranians and little Chihuahuas. We get the big Anatolians, we get the German Shepherds, we get fairly large dogs. As it proceeds, so, at the will of the board, we will be working concurrently with Eric and his team to ensure that those needs are met, for specifically related to our construction and our operational design currently. That's something that we do have.
Michael, what do we when we have a lot of dogs and you have to double up, what's the total number of dogs we end up with?
Yeah, so we're typically, the shelter is typically over capacity. Right now we have about 28 or 29 dogs, all large dogs except for 1 small one. So over 90% of our population is large dogs that are at least 50 pounds and greater. In terms of numbers, unfortunately, we do have to tell some members of the public we just don't have space. So that number could really be increased if we were to take in every person who brings in an animal that claims it's a stray. So we do try to divert those animals that are not injured, sick, or aggressive. And so there are some members of the public that are hanging on to them, waiting for some space to become available. So just to give you an idea, that around 30 animals at a shelter is pretty common. So the need to have a little bit more capacity I think is needed, of course. And we do have a lot of animals also that are on at-home bite quarantines because we simply don't have the adequate kennels, the adequate rooms, the adequate isolation areas to be able to bring these animals in. So unfortunately, sometimes we do have to have these animals be back in the public, back in the community to be doing at-home quarantines because we don't have the facilities. So that's something to consider.
And typically, those animals, too, are vaccinated with their rabies vaccine or quarantined for some other reason besides that. So we would rather have those animals at home anyways because they're in a safer environment. They're in a more comfortable environment. But yes, overall, we do get the larger dogs. We always have and always will, and that is a consideration.
I just wanted to make sure in this design that we're giving you enough space for what you need.
We appreciate that. Thank you for your thoughts. And again, we'll be working with Eric and along with Marcos and administration and his team, who have done just an outstanding job. And I just want to commend Michael as well and his team. I've got some of our team here, our volunteers and staff here to support this endeavor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, I have one question for Marcos. Marcos, in this contract, how much did we spend doing the initial design?
The initial conceptual design was roughly $200,000.
And we have another, in this contract, we're paying another $380,000 for design development.
This contract is for $798,000, and that gets us the schematics and the construction documents. And then after we receive those, we'll go out for bid, and then there will be a construction contract.
Right. There's $410,000 for construction documents. There's $380,000 for design development in the bid. So haven't we already done design development?
We did the conceptual drawing, so the design development, which I'm referring to as schematic, is essentially, that's where you look at the fixtures, the thickness of the wall, and actually get the more specifics. Right now, it is a conceptual where it is, this is the location, these are the rooms, these are where the kennels, so they're essentially taking in all the things that need to go into the construction documents to move it forward.
Sort of feels like we're paying twice.
No.
All right, I'll open this up for public comment. Are there public comments on this item?
Once again, cat owner, is this project include cats, or is that going to be a separate? All we were talking about is dogs. Also, if it sounds like the 40 units or 40 cages is close to present capacity. In other words, we don't seem to be putting space aside for future expansion. Perhaps that could be commented on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Hello, my name is Holly Croydon. I'm a volunteer at the shelter. 4 mornings a week. I'm there at 7 in the morning walking dogs. And I've been there with Martin, and as Martin well knows, we are at capacity now. And it sounds to me like we are going to have a nice new building with the same capacity, or maybe a little bit more. And I don't think that quite gets the job done. I'm a little worried that we're going to continue turning away members of the public who are in need, who have animals that have been dumped. I mean, we're a dumping ground for lots of places, I'm afraid. Dogs are abandoned, cats are abandoned, and they end up with us. Legal situations, the sheriff's bringing in dogs, it's all coming to the municipal shelter. So I think it's really important that we do this right and we not spend a lot of money on something that is not adequate. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment on this item? Is there any public comment online?
There's no online public comment.
I'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Anybody want to have a statement or a question that we need to discuss? I will, I do. You know, I have to admit, as I said in the last meeting, I am for building an animal shelter. I really think we need to do it, and we set aside $4 million. I'm going to vote against this, not because I'm against the animal shelter, but because I want the animal shelter to get built. And I'm concerned that just the $3 million shortfall for the dogs alone doesn't even bring in the $9 million to build the whole thing. Without the money identified, I'm worried that we will not build this project anytime soon. So I'm going to vote against this specifically because I want to get something built. That's my position. Other comments or a motion?
I have a couple comments on this. Initially, when this was brought before us and we asked for it to go out, and I was a proponent for it to go out, to see what the cost would be, because they were estimating $700,000 to $800,000 for these documents. And it's funny, it comes back, it's $798, like $2,000 less than the full $800,000 that they were looking for at the top of the range. And I think I'm on siding a little bit with you, Jack. I think we can get something built and not expend this much money for the design concept and construction documents for something we can move forward on, and maybe with a larger capacity. This is a full-scale contract that even if we move forward on it, like you say, we don't have the money to complete what we're designing and having documents drawn for and drawings for. We'll be sitting here 10 years from now still looking for the money to fulfill this, I think. I don't see it happening unless we go out for another grant and try and, hey, we have a design, we have drawings, we have the land, we're ready to go, we need money and look for a grant. But I'm not so sure that's even going to happen here with what's going on with the state finances. And we'll see a lot of that money out there until the state finances are reconciled. So I don't think I'm going to vote for this myself either. I think we can go a different route.
Other comments, or is there a motion from the board? Is there a motion going twice? Seeing no motion, this item fails. Is that correct, council?
It's not, it doesn't pass.
Stopper?
With that said, you know, because I didn't need to say a darn thing for, you know, my same concerns. Because the numbers are what they are when it comes to the animals, and we need to think about the capacity thing in the future. And overall, I mean, moving forward, we see it far too often. Every time a government project comes forward, the cost is exponentially more than anybody else has to pay. Partially because of the process we have to go through. But as part of this board, I would like to give direction to staff to look at other possibilities on how we can move forward with something that's more within our budget, at the same time provide full service to the animal shelter and what we need to get done on capacity.
Yeah, I would like to add to that, thank you, Supervisor Stopper, that this in no way, shape, or form, like Supervisor Garamendi said, takes away from our desire to have an animal shelter. I think it just needs to be rethought.
Is that the consensus of the board for direction for staff?
Yes.
Amanda? Okay, staff, you've got direction.
We do, and we'll move forward with that.
Thank you. Moving on to item 26.
Item 26, informational item, Human Resources. Receive a presentation from Stacy Witchell from Evergreen Solutions LLC on the classification and compensation study conducted for the county.
We will need to set up the presentations.
Okay, we're going to take 3 minutes and we'll take 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We'll be back at 45. Thank you. Welcome back. We'll move on to item 26. Madam Clerk, if you please read it in. Stacy, you want to read the item?
Oh, read it again? Okay.
Oh, did you already read it?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay. Please.
Good morning, Chair Garamendi, members of the board. We are bringing to you today the results of our classification compensation study that was done for our employees countywide. Stacy Witchell with Evergreen Solutions will be presenting the information to you now.
Thank you for having me here again. Pleasure to be back here, and I appreciate the opportunity to walk through the presentation with you. We'll be an overview of the study. And can you talk a little closer? Okay. So then I'll walk through the presentation with you. It'll be an overview of the study to remind you where we started, and then the steps along the way, and then obviously those recommendations. So just a reminder, we did touch on this last time I was here, but what is the purpose of a compensation study? And an organization takes on a study like this because your employees are your most valuable resource. And so when you're starting to see those challenges with recruiting and retaining quality staff, employee morale, organizational culture adjustments, improvements that you would like to make, those are those times when you feel the need to take on a study like this. It also helps you to create and maintain a healthy budget and helps you with budget projections moving forward. Your study goals were to review the current compensation system that you have in place because you wanted to address any areas of internal inequities or inconsistencies. Externally, we wanted to look at the market to find out how you fared in the market to make sure you were competitive from an external standpoint. And then bring all that data in together to give you recommendations to provide the county with a system that's both equitable internally and externally. And then also, like I said before, to address those inconsistencies from the way you're currently managing right now. Just a reminder of where we've been. We started this back in the fall. That was that initial kickoff of the project. I held our focus groups, collected all of your employee data, moved on into looking at your classifications. We worked with that job assessment tool, administered that to all of your employees to get their input on their positions and how their positions compare to their job descriptions. And then we looked at the market, collected all that data, and then did that analysis. Brought it all here to phase 4. So now we're at the solution and the reporting stage. The next thing that we have to do after this part of it and collecting information from you guys is job descriptions. So we have all the data to update those. We just need to get that in final form for you.
The slide keeps changing up on us. It's actually dark and then for some reason comes up light.
Yeah, technology. So really quick for an assessment of current conditions. What we found, what you have right now is you don't have a systematic salary structure. You're managing by classifications. So what you're doing right now is managing by 350, 375 individual classifications instead of in an organized pay scale structure. You do have 5 steps per grade, and your average range spread is about 22%. Your grade progression varies widely, and grade progression, what I'm talking about there is the distance between those classifications or levels. Some are very close or the same, and other ones you have a little bit more variation, over 10-15%. Your salary distribution, your minimum starting salary is $16.19 an hour. Your average starting salary across the board is $34.50. Your average overall tenure is just shy of 7 years. And the majority of your employees are in either that first or the 4th quartile. So it reflects the people, that employees you have that have been here with you for a while versus the ones that you hired more recently, especially given the 5 steps you have. You have a pretty narrow range. You have 19 departments. You've got 6 different units that most of your employees are organized under. Health, Human Services, and SEIU are where most of your employees and classifications are. Areas of inequity and inconsistencies were identified across pay plans. So within the units and also across the units, we found where things had drifted over time. And there was some compression between supervisors and employees, but that wasn't as significant of an issue as, like I said, that inconsistency across. We conducted employee outreach when I was here last time, so we met with a large number of your employees here with the focus groups. When we meet with your employees, one of the first things we always ask them is why Calaveras? Why did you want to start your career here? And by and large, people love the community, they love the area. They're from Calaveras, so being able to work in and be a part of the community they live in is very important to your employees. Other things that really kind of were brought up a lot, co-workers, work environment, that work-life balance, stability, benefits. Those are the things that were repeatedly mentioned. We also administered a survey, and it was an employee survey for our focus groups to reach everybody that wasn't able to attend focus groups. And even here you'll see that by and large, it's the location. It's people want to be here. Okay, that's why they've not only come here, but they've continued to stay here. We did ask about employee concerns in relation to classifications, compensations, benefits. And we found really what we were seeing with the data is there is a concern about internal inequities and inconsistencies. Employees feel like really not having that structured system, things have drifted over time, and so classifications working at the same level are not necessarily compensated at the same level. Career levels, there was concern there about wanting to make sure they had the levels for people to grow in their careers. And they wanted to make sure that level 1 was at a competitive salary so they could hire people at level 1 and people could progress through levels 2 and 3. The cost of health insurance, once you start adding those dependents, family members to the plan, was a concern by the vast majority of your employees. That was brought up in the survey and also brought up in our focus groups. External equity, employees want to make sure that you are competitive with those peers. Want to make sure that you're able to attract those quality employees and applicants from potentially outside of the county as well. Cost of living adjustments, especially coming off of COVID and the impacts to inflation we've seen there over the last several years. Is the county keeping up with the increased cost of living? And can we make sure, is there a plan in place to make sure you can in the future? The chart on the side from that survey, and that chart was related to the question about internal equities with the compensation. So you can see, by and large, 50% felt like things were not equitable. Additional 15.5% were unsure. So that gave us the picture for your internal. So looking externally at your market, the salary survey results in responses from 20 different peers. So you see the list of peers in the table to the side. And then the numbers you see to the side of that, that's cost of living index. So that's where we adjusted for the cost of living for Calaveras County. So if any of those peer organizations were below or above, we brought them to the value of your dollar here. Okay. There was a total of 125 positions that were used as benchmarks. We averaged about 9.7 matches, and those are good matches. Remember, we're matching based on the descriptions, not titles. And that resulted in about over 1,000 data points collected. So we looked at your market average results. On average, remember this is across all the classifications. There's certain classifications that are above, at market, and below. But on average, you're about 13% behind at the minimum of your salaries. At the midpoint, you lose ground at almost 16% and maximum about negative 18%. The average range spread is 24.5% of your peers. So that distance from min to max for your other peer organizations is broader than yours. That's why you're losing ground as you go from mid to max. All right? If you look at a distribution of where those broke, there's about 26% of those classifications are used as benchmarks. We're greater than 20% behind market. About 32% were at 20 to 10% behind. And a little over 9% were above market from 1 to 17%. The rest of them fell right around plus or minus 5 to 10% of market. When we looked at benefits, we were looking at how your benefits compared to your peers. And when you look at what that first line is telling you as benefits as a percentage of total compensation, your peers, including FICA, was at 40.9% contributions. Calaveras is 29%. If we include Medicare into that, that pushes you, and you push in 32%. Your health insurance on average, the family plans, out-network deductibles were slightly more competitive with your peers than with Calaveras. Short-term, long-term disability. About a third of the responding peers provided employees the option to purchase supplemental disability insurance. Leave accrual was very comparable across organizations. The holidays, Calaveras offers 3 more days, holiday days, than your peers. Some of your peers were as low as 9 days. So that really surprised me. 11 is typical of what I would expect. So you guys are offering 3 over that typical already. The tuition, that's a program that's offered by some of your peers. 2 of them gave us enough data for me to tell you something about it. The cap on those 2 peers that offer tuition support was $1,200 a year to go towards classes. Calaveras does fall under that federal student loan forgiveness program, and it's utilized pretty highly, I think, by your employees here, but no additional reimbursements on top of that. Retirement, very comparable with other organizations around you. The Employee Assistance Program, many of your peers offered a few extra days compared to you guys, but nothing that I would say is significant. So as a whole, I think insurance is the bigger driver there. That's where some of your peers are a little more competitive than you, but you're plus or minus, in many of those different categories. When we took all that information into looking at what we needed to build for you to help you get to where you need to be, these are the sideboards that we were operating within. We want to provide consistency, equity, transparency in that salary structure for you. We want to assign classifications to pay grades that are based on that internal equity with consideration given to market competitiveness. We want to ensure fiscal sustainability, and then we want to develop salary schedules that fit each of your different bargaining units, and then the ones that are also not represented. So before we jump into the salary schedules, your proposed classifications are in this table here. Now, many of these are updates to current titles, resetting the level 1, level 2s to make that level 1 competitive, and creating a couple of new titles in here for you. So nothing in here that is really more than updating your levels to fit your needs. Okay. So here's the first salary schedule we want to take a look at. These are your appointed classifications. Where on the schedules here, as we go through them, where space allowed, I included the classifications that would be included on this pay grade schedule here on the bottom of the slide. So that's what you'll see here. So you add commissioner, CBO, environmental management, admin, director of planning. These are the classifications that would be assigned to one of these different pay grades. These right now are flat rates. They don't have a range. So we're providing a range for them. So it would be a step plan with 5 steps, just like your other plans. You'd have 9 pay grades, 24% range spread. Your midpoint progression is going to vary on this one. Your step progression would be at 5.5%. Now your midpoint progression, and that's the second to the last column over there, it's not consistent because we're not adjusting the minimums of these particular salaries. The goal here was to get them on a schedule and get them on a plan, okay? For middle management, unrepresented, this is where you're going to start to see that consistency throughout all of the rest of the schedules. We've got step plan here, 5 steps. You got 11 pay grades, 24% range spread. So remember before it was 22% is what you have right now. Market average was around 24.5. We're going to broaden that out to 24% to make it a little bit more competitive as employees go from minimum to maximum, so you don't lose as much of that market position. Your midpoint progression on average is 5%. Your step progression is 5.5%. Your current step progression is right at 5. So we're going to increase that to 5.5% here. So 0.5% more between each step of their different pay schedules. The SMU pay plan, again, same consistent design and structure, very transparent, very easy to communicate and message to all of your employees as well. 6 pay grades here, 24% range spread, midpoint progression, average 5%, and step is still at 5.5. This is a new pay plan. This is attorney pay plan. This is, your attorneys are represented in 2 different areas currently, and at one point they were aligned with each other. Over time they drifted, so this is resetting them back to be aligned with each other. And the series you'll see there in the classifications is included. Otherwise, they're on a very similar structure to the rest of the pay plans. Now, this one is a little bit of a blended slide here. CCP, SEA, Confidential, and SEIU, these were the 3 different groupings where we saw the most inconsistencies and inequities across the board here. And the reason why you have so many people in these different groupings that work at the same level as each other within the organization, and things have just drifted and changed over time. So we want to reset that. So I'm showing you the 100 series right now, which would be CCP, SEA, but all 3 tables are the same. Okay? So CCP, SEA, and Confidential would utilize pay grades 1 through 15. right now, and then SEIU would utilize 1 through 23. Okay. All classifications are assigned to a pay grade, and it's based on a classification hierarchy, and this really provides for internal equity across those pay plans. CMU salary schedule. This is, again, all classifications assigned to your pay grade based on that hierarchy and market. Same structure as you've seen in the other ones. There's 17 pay grades to allow enough room for all the different classifications that are under this grouping. Your DSA salary schedule. Again, similar structure. 401 through 410, 10 pay grades, 24% range spread, midpoint progression of 5%. CSU, again, created the same step plan here for them, aligned it based on the classifications that are within this grouping to make sure the salaries are competitive and with the market, and it meets your classification hierarchy. So when we look at what does that mean from a budget standpoint, and keep in mind this is based on a snapshot in time and the employee data at that time. Employees aren't static, they change. But based on the employee data we had in January, February. When did I do that last? February. February. Thank you. In February, it would be a $1.7 million budget adjustment. It's about 4% of your payroll. 565 employees would be impacted. Now, when you look at a bring to minimum option, what that means is you're looking at an employee's current salaries. Because remember, this is a hold harmless approach. We're not reducing anybody's salaries. So it's going to look at their current salary. If they're not making the new minimum, then we're bringing them up to the new minimum. If they're making above the new minimum, then we're aligning them on that next appropriate step. All right?
And just a reminder that the 1.7 is just base salary. It does not take into consideration assignment pays, longevity, CalPERS, those additional costs.
Moving forward, administering this pay plan, we recommend that you conduct a small-scale salary survey to assess those market competitiveness for classifications where you're experiencing some recruitment and retention challenges. Watch adjustments across, because we work to take your 350, 400 individual classifications right now and build you a consistent structure. So watch that and manage as you move forward, because if you change one thing, of course, it impacts everything else around it. Incorporate your policies right now. You already do this. We recommend you continue to do them. You're tying any kind of annual compensation adjustment to the CPI. When you reassign those classifications, look at those impacts to other classifications around it and that hierarchy and the tiers. If you're managing it like this on an annual basis, you really don't need another study for 3 to 5 years, and I would say probably 5 years would be a better fit than 3. Next steps. While we were doing the study, we did spend a lot of time with your Health and Human Services Agency and the structure that it is right now and some of the alignment challenges that you have in there. And so we would recommend taking a little bit deeper look at that through an org study with that particular agency. If that's something you're interested in, please let us know. Next steps, like I mentioned earlier, we'll take all the data we have on those job descriptions and finalize them and update them so it's not just in working notes at the moment. And then we'll provide training to HR on using the tools to manage those pay plans moving forward. Is there any questions or anything that you would like me to go back to?
Seems like okay. Is that the presentation? Are there any other questions from the board regarding this? We'll bring it.
I do have one question. Going back to the slide, it says implementation option and the $1.713360 million to implement it. And we were talking about the other costs that you brought up, Judy. Does that include those costs and those upgrades to those costs because of the salary upgrades?
No, the 1.7 is strictly base
Just
salary.
based on the
And then
salaries.
what we will be doing when we meet with the board in closed session to get direction for negotiations, we can discuss that further.
Okay, all right. That's a question I have.
Thank you. Quick question, have we socialized this with our labor unions?
Yes, and so we made sure that once we gave this information to the board, then we met with all of the unions and the associations and gave them the same information.
Thank you. No more questions to the board. Are there questions or comments from the public? This is an informational item. Is there anybody online who'd like to make a comment on this?
There are no online requests.
Seeing no online requests or other questions, I'll bring it back to the board before we move on. This is an informational item, but are there any further questions from up here?
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
Thank you. Give you guys a second to back up. All right, moving on to item 27. Stacy.
Item 27, informational item, Public Works, receive a presentation on the draft 2024 Calaveras County Department of Public Works 5-year capital improvement plan.
Robert, this is your item.
Yes, sir. Good morning. We have a little presentation there.
You need a couple minutes? Do you need a few minutes, Mark?
Just a moment.
2 minutes.
Stacy, I have this. Ready. Thank you. Good morning. This is our annual CIP presentation. Our presentation, we try to do it a little bit earlier in the year. Thank you, board, for your patience for the beginning of this year, as we've been a little bit working on another project. So this presentation, we will cover the current year's CIP projects. We're going to look back a little bit at the 2023 season and discuss what is planned for the 2024 paving program. And I'd also like to discuss a little bit of the future projects.
Can you hold on just a minute, Robert, as we get the PowerPoint up?
Okay, I gave that introduction already, so let's go to the next. Revenue sources. Let me remind everyone at this point, this CIP with the projects is a draft. We will bring it back in a month for adoption. The CIP is used for preparing our budget for the coming year. So we have the revenue sources, a couple different revenue sources that we have: discretionary revenue, restricted revenue. Discretionary revenue is our highway users tax account. It comes from the state from collection of the gas taxes that are collected. We have regional surface transportation program, and those funds are used exclusively pretty much for the maintenance work that we do. Restricted revenue, we could only use those funds on the projects that we received the funding for. We receive funds from the federal grants, state grants. RMRA is the SB1 projects. And then there's also the transient occupancy tax that's used for the maintenance of effort established in order for us to get the SB1 funding. Those funds can only be used on the projects for which the scope is prepared for that funding. Safety dollars could only be used on the safety projects identified under the grant, as an example. So some completed projects. In that picture, up on the top left, that's the railroad flat road slide that was repaired. That was a winter storm event, 2019, and what was done was, instead of trying to rebuild the whole cut slope, the road was moved over. It was a much cheaper alternative, and that's what you see in the top. On the bottom is the guardrail safety improvement project that was done throughout the county. Certain guardrails were upgraded, and you can see the upgrade there. So in 2023, we had completed the Oak Hill Road resurfacing and paving, Ball Mountain Road resurfacing and paving, Campo Seco CSA 8. We have our annual road striping project. The HSIP is the Safety Improvement Program, the guardrail update, and of course the Railroad Flat Road realignment. That's a disaster project. So in some of these projects, the contractors provide bids, and we go out with that bid and get the project done. We have construction management firm to look at the work, and we have, in some cases, design that's needed to be done. The funding for those projects come from grants for the most part, and it covers all the work. In some cases, we also have our road crews to do the prep work. For example, for the SB1 projects, our road crews will come in and do some of the pothole maintenance and crack sealing and so forth in preparation for the contractor to come in and do the surface treatment. Let me explain. The bottom picture is the removal of a temporary bridge at Manji. There's a creek crossing that needs to be upgraded, and that would be completed this year. The upper picture there is pavement repairs, and you can see the lower one, I believe, is Campo Seco Road. Okay. So the way we plan our projects, in 2019, there was a report prepared by NCE that showed us the pavement index on the roads. The pavement index is a quality feature. The higher the number, the better the quality of the road. What is taken into account are cracks and distress along the road. The road is evaluated, and the more damage to the road, the lower the number. So a newly paved road would have a PCI number of about 100, and poor roads have PCIs going down 50, 40, and so forth. So in 2019, the philosophy was to perhaps extend the life of the roads by concentrating on roads with very good PCIs. And yes, that's true, that does extend the life of the road, but we still have input from various sources. We have a program where the public can call in or go online and let us know there's potholes here or there's some damage that needs to be addressed. Our road crews are always looking at those lists, and they perform most of that work throughout the year in their maintenance program. But there are some larger projects that need to go into the capital improvement program, but we use that input to help guide us. We also take the input from our road crews because they're out there every day and they see what's going on. And of course, we like to speak with you. You're out listening to your constituents. You tell us what are the area's needs. We use all of that as part of the input into preparing our capital improvement program. So the program that we're running right now, you'll see on the list of items that they were pretty much established some years ago. We're at the point this year where we will start to plan for the next few years of road improvements, and we'll have to go out and get the consultant to do the report to get us the next batch of roads. But that information is used as a point of beginning. Our funding is very limited with what we can do, so we can't just go and fix entire lengths of poor condition roads. But on the other hand, we can't ignore those roads. So the funding is focused on the higher volume roads, of course, where the traveling public is affected the most. That's what we try to take care of. But the original concept of the pavement program was to try to treat roads that were in good shape to extend their lives. That ignored, to a great extent, roads that were in need of repair and were in bad shape. So what we're doing now is, instead of ignoring those roads that are in bad shape, although it is more expensive to deal with those roads, we are taking bites of those and trying to repair those road pieces, a small piece at a time. For example, this year we're going to do Southworth. There are sections of Southworth that we would like to work on. There are poor sections of road. The report and what was established in the old CIPs, if you look at the locations where the repairs were going to be done, they were in sections that were in good shape. If we went ahead and put our money on that, people would think we're crazy, because right next to it is a very deteriorated road. So we're going to start to deal with those deteriorated portions of the road. We won't get as far in miles because it costs more to repair, but we still need to repair those roads. Of course, as we plan this, we try to continue with the geographic concentration of work so that we can have some sort of benefit through economy of scales. We don't want the contractor spread all over the place, and then of course that costs more to have him dragged all over the county. So we're focusing on certain areas. This year it's District 1, District 5, and we have a little bit in District 4. In the CIP program, roads that are shown in the future are for planning purposes. They're helpful for all of us, for the board to look at, to see what's coming up ahead, but very helpful for us, in particular with our discussions with utility districts, because they can see what's being planned ahead. So there's the paving schedule for 2024. We have up in, you can see that there's a 2022 District 3 work. That's remaining work from past years that had to be postponed to accommodate PG&E utility work in the area. They're undergrounding the wires. It's a safety program that they have. We don't want to be tearing up the roads twice, so we're working and partnering with them to get those roads completed. And then you see the 2024 suggested roads that we have. The CSA 4, we have some roads in there that we've identified that need attention, immediate attention, and we believe Sulky Court may be one of those that we're going to try to do. And on some on needed input that we received, we're going to do that Little Main Street in Jenny Lynn, Hunt Road and Milton. We keep working on Hunt Road in sections to improve that. It's a long road, but little by little, year by year, we can get that into a decent road. A few years ago, we started a little traffic calming program. I set aside a few dollars so that all of the districts had some projects. That's one of the, how do I put it, biggest complaints that we get, people driving fast and so forth and so on. And so we're trying to address some of those by setting aside a few dollars for traffic calming projects. We've been able to put up speed tables, and we hope to continue to do more of that this year. The continuing construction, of course, we continue working on Wagon Trail realignment. That's a project that's been in the works for over 20 years. Manji, we're going to finish hopefully in the coming year. The streetlight project is mostly done. Some finishing touches need to be done. The high friction surface treatment program just started. You might see areas within the county where the road looks kind of a little bit like sandpaper. It's intended to increase the friction of the road and help the driver stay on the road. And we also have a striping project that's continuing. For this year, 2024 construction, the Valley Springs Safety, the School Safety Improvement Project should be started this year. We'll be bringing plan specs and estimates to the board in a few weeks. That will allow us to go out to bid. We're currently completing the right-of-way phase for that. You can see all the other projects here that we have. And in the CSA program, CSA projects are funded through the CSAs, so with their little bit of funding, we try to be frugal and do work within the CSAs. As that bank builds up a little bit, we're able to do some projects. This year, there's a new project that we've added. It was done in December. It's the O'Burnstory Road Guardrail Project, so that will be coming in. Future projects. How do we look at future projects? I passed out a little sheet. That was the culmination of a discussion that we had about a year or so ago when COG had a call for projects, and the board identified various projects on there. We use that to look for funding. One of the projects identified on that list was the let's see here, Copperopolis Main Street and School Safety Improvement Study. We've approached the COG for that. They're working on that through a grant fund. It's the ATP grant fund, and that's how those things are identified. They go through the list, we get the planning documents for those, and then hopefully if we're successful, we can start to get grant funding for the work. For future projects, like I said, that's input from the board. We also look at the My Calaveras online system, and we look at what the consultants prepare for us through the planning studies. Those planning studies are prepared under the Council of Governments work. They're always doing the planning documents for us or for the county, and we use those documents to guide us. Okay, this year, the project in Calaveras County, that is an ATP grant that COG is providing the grant application for. We also look at the RTP, and they've identified various projects in there. We're working the State Route 26 Olive Orchard Garner Place intersection with the Valley Springs Benefit Basin funding, which that's one of the projects that the funds can be used for. And there's a list of unfunded projects. We always have unfunded projects, but to start working on those, it requires a tremendous amount of funds. Those are identified in the regional transportation plan, but you have to start somewhere, and then from there you start refining plans and going after grant money for the work. There's more of the unfunded projects that are identified. And of course, the bridge project, or Burns Ferry Road Bridge, was a project that was started many years ago. It was, because of lack of funding, it stopped, but we haven't lost the need for that work, so we'll continue having those discussions and trying to look for funding opportunities for that project. That's back in 2013. That was a $70 million project, so I'm sure it's more now. Yeah, so at this point, I'd like to solicit your input, concurrence that the next priority project is the State Route 49 Mountain Ranch Road intersection. That one is identified in the evacuation needs assessment. During the Butte fire, that was a bottleneck. It continues to have traffic circulation issues when we leave here. You can see that there's always, I think you kind of take your life in your hands sometimes, the way you see people turning there. It's tremendous. And we see that as a potential for future economic development in the area. It is somewhat coupled with the intersection at Airport Road and Highway 49. We've tried to have some development in that area, but Caltrans has come back at us and says the developer has to do some tremendous amount of improvements there, even though it's long-term issue, and it has stopped development at that area along the corridor. So what we would like to solicit from you is your concurrence that would be the project. Is not to say that we're spending money today or anything on it. It's so that then we have our conversations with COG. They put that in with the plans. There is a San Andreas sidewalk project being conducted by Caltrans right now. Maybe there's an opportunity for them to extend their project a few hundred feet to include that intersection. So there's a lot of opportunities that are there, but we would like your concurrence that that's something that you'd like us to pursue. And I wanted to recognize our partners. The Council of Governments, of course, is a tremendous partner. Always looking for planning funding, helping with funding for grant applications and so forth. We also we receive funding through them, CMAQ funding that you're aware of. We'll be using CMAQ funding for the Valley Springs Safety Improvement Program later this year. Our SDP funds come to us, the bike pedestrian funds, so we get funding through COG for various projects that we have. We also are working with the local utilities. It's always a difficult discussion with the utilities because their limited budgets and so forth. But, for example, this year, we hope to partner with CCWD as they are working on their transmission line on Hart-Vixen. It seems in our discussions with CCWD, it looks like there's something that we can do there to partner with them so that the road is disturbed once, the utility goes in, the pavement is repaired, and we're not bothering the residents for years and years of construction there. And finally, we have the Caltrans as a partner, but yes, thank you. So SB1 is our paving funding source. I can't forget to mention the team. We have a small group, but they're very powerful. Very dedicated to what they're doing. They're learning quite a bit. We couldn't do a lot of this work without Kelly, who's the project manager, trying to get a lot of these projects done. Mark does the administrative part of the whole team. You can see that there's what the value is of the projects this year, $19.2 million. One thing that you should know is that those values, those budget numbers, are greatly affected by any one project. For example, Wagon Trail is a very expensive project. It's in our budget, but once that's completed or resolved, the budget won't include those dollars from Wagon Trail, and you might see a completely different number there. You would wonder, what happened? Are you guys not doing any work? Well, it's because those projects have such an impact to the budget. That's what's going on. Okay, again, let me thank you for your patience in this presentation. I'd like to know if there are any questions or comments.
Supervisor Stopper, you got your light on?
Yes, sir. I know Mr. Toffanelli's gotten calls, and we've had it programmed in for a while, Vista Del Lago, once the PG&E underground gets redone. I mean, it's been havoc there. I drive it every day. I know Mr. Toffanelli's well aware of it. How soon after they are done with construction do we intend to have that repaved? Because that's money that's been on the books from SB1 for quite some time.
That construction, PG&E is supposed to complete that road, that surface. That is part of their responsibility. Because of, we had to accommodate them, we had to move somewhere else, but, so they are going to come in and complete that road.
That road for where they disturbed it? Or are they doing it end to end?
It's pretty much end to end.
They're going to do the whole thing. Okay, that's good news. So those SB1 funds were able to be diverted elsewhere.
And I don't remember exactly how that moved, but we could discuss that.
Yeah, that is a discussion because that's split between Gary's district and my district, Vista Del Lago. And then also that follows on with, you brought up Hart-Vixen and Baldwin have been programmed in there for some time. And we have these funds coming in from SB1. District 5 has been put off on SB1 funds for how long? Since I've been here. For over 5 years. Because of potential construction and everything else. So those SB1 funds have not been spent in District 5. They've been spent elsewhere inside the county. You've done a CSA 1 roads. There might be one or two roads, small, minute, that have been done on the SB1 funds. But, all those Plan 1s have been put off. Right, Robert? Can you think back to one that was done?
I do remember the CSA roads.
Yeah.
I don't remember the other
No
roads.
SB1 roads because they've all been put off. But, okay. CSA 1, what's our timeline on those?
That'll be done this year.
This year. When's the RFP coming out for it?
When will the RFP come out for that?
I have to accept, we're going to be bringing PSNE to the second meeting next month, and then after that, we'll be able to go out to bid. So,
Okay.
2 months maybe before the bid docs or before we receive bids. That would be
2 months to receive bids? In about 2 months, we'll receive bids.
So that you're going for end of May, when most construction companies are pretty much taxed out through got a lot of scheduling already throughout the year. So we can't guarantee that's going to get done this year. Or do we have construction companies that are guaranteeing us an allocating time already?
Construction companies usually bid on this work.
I understand the bid, Robert. It's scheduling.
When we go out to bid, the schedule will be in the bid documents, and when they respond, that's what they're going to be doing. They already know what the schedule is. So they should be doing that work this year.
Okay. SR 26 and Olive Orchard. How far are we on any type of planning for that? Or are we talking about using those Valley Springs benefit?
The consultant is hired with the Valley Springs benefit based in dollars. That's the only funding for that project right now. We're having long conversations with Caltrans, trying to figure out what is an acceptable solution for that intersection.
Okay. New Hogan Dam bridges. I drive across those daily. Most of the part, it's mostly in Gary's district over there where it's flooded, but there's other bridges.
And I'm looking at these other bridges and like some of the Dogtown bridges, the New Hogan Dam, those bridges have continued accidents on them. New Hogan Dam is highly used. It's got a lot of traffic on it, and we're focusing on these other, and I'm not picking on one, but that doesn't have the amount of traffic on it. We need to focus on, as you brought up on your presentation about the roads that you're going to repair, and this is one of them. Those two bridges are very, very narrow. People pull boats going both ways coming out the New Hogan Dam, or New Hogan Reservoir, both ways, leaving it and going into it, and those bridges continually have an issue, and they're part of the flooding problem because of the way they were designed, and the debris backing up on them, plugging them up as it washes down. So that would be one of the things that I would look for the Highway Bridge program, the next one going forward, is to get something done with those bridges. The other question I had was, I didn't see Pope Street on there.
That's the ATP project. These ones are the ones that are being in construction.
Okay, so on the Valley Springs, we went to the school district and we got their okay for the right-of-way. So when is the RFP going out? Because school year is going to end, and we need to get that construction in while that school year, those kids are out, and get in and get it done. So when is the RFP going out?
The bids come to the board for approval, and then the plan specs and estimates come to the board for approval, and then they go out to bid. So
April 12th is our next meeting, so we're already halfway through April.
Right. The plan was to bring those in at the end of April.
The end of April?
Mm-hmm, to get them approved, and then we go out and get the bids.
So we're looking at May before we even have a bid in.
Mm-hmm. We have to wait for the right-of-way certification to be complete, which is the step that we're at with the school board.
So when school gets back in, how are you going to do any construction when there's buses and parents dropping kids off there and kids crossing the street? How are you going to do construction during that time?
Well, they'll have to do a traffic control plan and try to accommodate. If it runs into the school traffic, they'll have to accommodate all that.
Maybe construction at night. night construction, then the neighbors are going to be complaining to me about the amount of noise. We are cutting this very, 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 very thin here. I don't want to see it to go to next year because it was one of the major things with what happened there and the congestion with the buses now having to be on the street when they used to be in the back where the new building is, the new VETS building is. All those years, it's created nothing but chaos there. So,
can I add to that, Mr. Toffenay? Is the school district's USD with their scheduling 6 to 7 weeks off. It's not your typical schedule for a lot of schools, so you have less time.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's like you have to start on day one and get done. I mean, it's a tight window.
And then the Vista del Lago that Supervisor Stopper brought up, and PG&E is supposed to be repaving that after they finish their project. Have they started back on their project? Because they had to go from the bridge down to the highway. And so have they started? They have? Yes. So
or else I'm getting stuck in other work every morning.
Made you late this morning? Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I know I saw them out there. So they are, I've been requested by several people that live there and drive Vista del Lago, instead of looking at it to control traffic with speed bumps, like on Daphne Street, there's an indellation, and you wouldn't have to pay for speed bumps. All you'd have to do is dig that out, and it controls traffic. Just sign up. If you're familiar with Daphne Street.
Yes,
and
yes.
They're asking for a couple of them on there because traffic does go pretty quick there. So if you want to look at that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think that is all of my questions, comments.
Martin?
Yes, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Arnold in April, is that going to happen? Paving.
Yes, the paving. PG&E is still trying to complete that work, so we're kind of depending on them getting out. So if it's not in April, it'll be in May.
Okay.
But it'll happen this summer.
Thank you.
All right, we were asked to, in your presentation, to recommend priorities.
Yes, sir.
You suggested that we recommend. You asked in your presentation that we recommend priorities. Your suggestion to us was State Route 49 and Mountain Ranch Road. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So let me see if that is the priority that the board wants to make. Supervisor Stopper, what do you think?
Well, we've been talking about forever, and I understand the 49 and Mountain Ranch Road, but Olive Orchards, I see more wrecks there and more people hurt. I mean, and yes, this one does affect a lot of people in the county, but my SR 26 Olive Orchards higher on my priority list. I just can't, with a good heart, with concern for my constituents, leave that behind anything else.
Supervisor Toffenelli, where are you?
On Olive Orchard?
We were asked for recommending priority projects.
No, mine is Hogan Dam Road, those bridges, and Olive Orchard Garner. It's been on my priority too for a long time, because a lot of my constituents travel that.
Supervisor Fallendorf?
I have a question before I make a statement. Can I ask it? So whether this road intersection or any project across the county, my concern is, other than just this one recommendation that's on the slideshow, I still want more information. The county just got awarded money for the Safe Street evaluation. We don't know what's going to come out of that, and where those numbers, as Ben said, where those high crashes potentially are going to be, where we may have to shift vision. What is our potential, if any, economic growth because some of this infrastructure also ties into economic growth, expansion. We've been talking about housing, we've been talking about more commercial space, and some of the hang up on some of those is because there isn't the roads there because they can't be afforded by developers. I feel like we need more information, and then you didn't put any of, you talked about Pope being in design. Well, how many other projects are in design that we need to also make sure are funded? So I want to see all of this done, but I'm cautiously, concerned that we throw everything on the list, and we've got things in design stage that you're also going after for construction. We've got in the next 2 to 5 years, we've got various call for projects, either Caltrans grants. What's even going to be ready to go after those funds? Because some of these other projects aren't even ready to be presented to some of these funding opportunities because we haven't even started on it. And so my concern is you come back, I don't want to see Public Works go out, apply for construction funds or other funds when we just sat here and told you a list of projects that we want, and then we're wondering where and why. So I want some kind of a nexus, more treading of how this is all going to align together. We have some issues across the county, especially down in the Gary and Bend district, that need to be addressed. But how far out are we even to do that when you've got to get construction money for Pope Street? So I personally would like more information to come back with where is everything, express what we would like and desire, but what is the really reality coming over the next 2 to 5 years with what we can even apply for funding to support these projects. And I think a lot of these on the list have been there for a while. I think Olive Orchard, I'm making an example. Olive Orchard and all of those do need to be addressed, and we've got bridges that need to be, so I'm open to what the rest of the board has, but I don't want to vote on something until I see more information.
Supervisor Hubbard.
I would agree with that. Supervisor Fullendorf would just say that it would be really helpful to see a timeline, how this all breaks down into a timeline, and again, it's percentages of where we are with each project and how much it's going to take to complete each project.
I'm very familiar with those. My nephew got in an accident in 26 in Olive Orchard, and I drive Hogan Dam all the time, and they are serious problems. Robert, it doesn't look like we can give you a direction endorsing the 49 Mountain Ranch Road as a priority at this time. I think what I hear the board asking is that this come back with more detail, including specifically timelines and budget and how this puzzle all comes together. Madam CEO, does that sound doable? Oh, excuse me, and let me get a response.
Come on. Chairman Garamendi, I think that is completely doable, and I see Robert nodding his head yes, that he's on board for that to happen.
Okay. Supervisor Fullendorf, you had another question?
Yes, I have two more. One is Valley Springs project. I know you answered part of it, but I'd like to know when you talk about phase 1 and phase 2, with the CMAQ funding that's potentially coming down, that is, I think, is going to be approved next week after those negotiations with the city and county. Is that going to cover phase 1, or is that going to cover both phase 1 and 2? Because I know the allocations previously that the county had with those CMAQ dollars prior to getting this advancement it was broken up over 3 years. So with this larger advancement right now, how is Valley Springs getting broken up? Are we still in phases, or does that fund the whole phase 1 and 2?
That will fund phase 1.
That just phase 1?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. Also, it would be helpful in a note, because Gary and I, we're sometimes privy to understanding what's going on with these fundings and that they're coming down the pipe, but this wasn't really explained in the packet for the rest of the board members to understand that that phase is going to be funded. So right now it doesn't talk, I know it's not stamped, sealed yet until next week, but it would be nice for the rest of the board members to get those updates, what those times are and all for those fundings, because it would benefit us all as a whole to know where Public Works is on that, and that, you're working with, an allocation that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. And then the other thing I would like to see when we come back to is Caltrans put out all the highway updates of where some of these projects are. Can we have that included in our next update?
Yes.
Okay, it has all of those, so the rest of the board can see that information of, what's still in safety investigation, what's advanced past safety investigation. So that way we know, 'cause those also would impact the Highway 26. Because my understanding that was still an investigation, but that was probably 3 months ago. So where is that at to move on, and I think it would be beneficial for the rest of the board to see their status across the county. And then you brought up utilities, but with broadband, and there's some deadlines with broadband coming up with all of these paving programs, do we know, are we going to be giving the broadband utility, how are we working with them to give them their easements without disturbing any repaving that's going to be happening over the next 2 years? I don't want to stop the repave, but are you considering in those programs to make sure that easements are considered for broadband coming in?
So for the county road right-of-ways, the broadband is typically within the road right-of-way limit, so that is that easement. A lot of those roads, we've seen what's proposed, and we can work with the broadband company or stay away from those. There's enough roads that we shouldn't be clashing with those broadband roads.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because that's coming down to. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
I will open it up for public, this is an informational item, but we will open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online?
There's no public comment online.
Seeing none, any final comments before we move off this item from the board? All right, thank you very much, Robert.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Item 26.
28.
I'm sorry, 28.
Item 28, ordinance planning. Conduct a public hearing and by a 4/5 vote extend interim urgency ordinance 2024-02-130-3193 regulating the demolition of certain historic buildings and structures for 1 year, and find the adoption of the ordinance to be within the scope of the 2019 General Plan Environmental Impact Report.
Who is presenting on this?
I can, I don't know if we'll kind of tag team it, obviously, since, so this is, as everybody's aware, I believe aware, the initial urgency ordinance that the board put into place to protect the or require a process prior to the demolition of historic buildings. That expires in 45 days by operation of law. So this item is to extend that urgency ordinance, not for the maximum amount of time that the law allows, which would be 22 months and 15 days. Don't ask me why. But rather for 1 year, because staff believes that that is an amount of time within which we can have a permanent ordinance to the board for your consideration following planning commission process, et cetera. So if there are any questions, I think between Gina and Julie and I, we're happy to answer them. But that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions, Martin?
I was going to ask, not that I'm questioning Gina in the back of the room, but if we go ahead and approve this, and then we're at the end of the year and it hasn't been completed, can we extend it again?
No, it's a one-time extension.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any comments from the board? Public comments. Sal?
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name is Christopher Mandel. I'm the Executive Director of the Calaveras County Historical Society. I feel like the problem has been well iterated, so I'm here just to offer support. And first of all, to County Council to say thank you for becoming an expert on this in such a short amount of time. It is really tricky. You have to apply the federal laws, the state laws, and figure out how they interact with our county, so it's really amazing what you've done. And I'd just like to say that I understand that it may be difficult and pose some problems because these ordinances went into place for most counties in the 80s and 90s, and I see how homeowners right now or historic property owners could feel a bit broadsided by these ordinances. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that there are perks to this. There's the Mills Act, and also there's new development for restoration grants. And our organization is more than happy to help the public in facilitating that. We are predominantly the public interface for issues with preservation. And we will continue to do that work. And also, I just want to say that the board of the Historical Society, as well as myself, are willing to be put into this plan in whatever capacity we may be needed by planning or the board. And yes, thank you for taking care of our historic places and continuing your interest in history in our county. So thank you.
Thank you. So?
I'm Sal Manna from the Nonprofit Society for the Preservation of West Calaveras History, and we support wholeheartedly the extension of this ordinance. And we do want to emphasize that we need the Planning Department and County Council to finalize a permanent ordinance that includes rehabilitation as well, not just demolition. Such an ordinance is required by the state, and it's required by the county's general plan. We want this to be a fair and transparent process that people have to go through, people who are owners of historic properties, people who are potential owners of historic properties, and the community. I want to add one more thing to throw into this. I've talked about it privately with some county folks, which is the concept of demolition by neglect that may have to be as part of the ordinance itself. Tuolumne County already has one. It's called demolition by neglect. Their disincentive for someone doing that, I don't know whether I agree with it or you agree with it or not, but just what is in Tuolumne County's ordinance is that if they violate that provision, that they cannot lease, sell, or build on that property for 5 years. They're using that as the disincentive for someone having a historic building. There's a hole in the roof, it's destroying the building, and that they just say, well, too bad. And then the building, falls apart, and the county then has to deal with it from that point. So I would suggest that, officially, informally, as something to think about and to add to such an ordinance. Thank you.
Is there any public comment online?
There is no public comment online.
Bring it back to the board for further discussion. Anybody have a comment before we move to a motion?
I would move this item, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment, and I'm glad the Historical Society is here. I've had several people come up and suggest that they would go and unilaterally enroll people's property into historic preservation without the consent of the owners. I think that would be a really bad idea. And I certainly would not support something like that philosophically. We don't want to encumber, we want to respect people's property. We want to respect their rights. And we don't want to encumber somebody's property without their consent. Now, if they're subject to an ordinance, that's a different issue. But, and I know this is beyond our purview. I just want to express my desire to preserve our buildings, but also not to have individuals encumbering their neighbors. I'm not sure it's legal, but they claim it is. So we have a motion on the floor by Supervisor Toffenelli. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Hubbard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
With that, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to reconsider item 20.
That is within our board rules. So the item is back on the table by the person who made the motion.
Well, I think we got,
Yeah, if you don't mind, Chair Garamendi, the rule is that anyone who voted in the majority can make a motion for reconsideration, which requires a majority vote. And so Mr. Stopper fits that bill.
so then, at that point, do we have to vote to reconsider it?
Yes, I think it requires a majority vote to reconsider. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to reconsider item number 20. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Supervisor Toffenelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Item 20 is back on the table. Supervisor Stopper?
Sir, I'll just say it right from the beginning. The progression of Wagon Trail has been a hardship for me to support for quite some time and everything. My vote earlier was following that route, and I continue to believe that. But understanding the progress with Dewberry and what needs to move forward, I think the county would be in a bad situation if we did not move this forward. So I'm willing to reconsider my vote based on that premise.
So you're making a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion? Is there any public comment on this item? Is there any public comment online?
There's no public comment online.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Would you please call the roll?
District 1?
Aye.
District 2?
No.
District 3?
No.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank you. We'll move on to supervisor announcements.
In compliance with Government Code 53232.3D, board members shall provide brief reports on any meetings attended at the expense of the local agency and may make other announcements or report out.
All right, Supervisor Stopper.
I only did something just now that cost me a little bit, so I don't have anything else to report.
Supervisor Toffenelli.
I don't have anything to report at this time.
Nothing to
Supervisor
report.
Hollendorf. Supervisor Hubbard.
No, both of my meetings were postponed until next month.
Very well, I have nothing to report. We're going to go back into closed session, and we'll report back on closed session at the beginning of our next scheduled meeting. Thank you. We are adjourning the public session at this time.